Good morning, children. Welcome to biology session. Last class we have started animal behavior and we have gone through instinct behavior and imprinting behavior. Today we are going to start conditioning behavior and we are left with one more behavior known as imitation. In the next class we will deal with imitation. So coming to the conditioning, children. What is conditioning? Conditioning is a type of behavior involving a response to a stimulus that is different from the natural one. That is, it is not natural. It is different from the natural, and this is a type of learned behavior. So, when coming to the instinct behavior, so that was not a learned behavior, children, but this conditioning is a learned behavior. Yes. So, for example, if we take a ring of a school bell as an example, students show different types of conditioning to a school bell as per the time. When the school bell rings in the morning, students gather for assembly. Isn't it? You all people will gather for assembly. When school bell rings at the end of the break time, the students leave the playground and go to their classrooms. And you love spending time in playgrounds and all, right? At the same time, when school bell rings at the last period, students rush to leave their classrooms because they are very happy that they are leaving the school and going to their home. There is one stimulus of ringing, the school bell, but students show different responses to it, children. In the first bell, they were assembled in the prayer. In the second bell, they were ready to go to the playground. And in the third bell, they were ready to go to their homes. Isn't it? The bell was same, but see the response. The response is differing here. That is only because their experiences they had learned when to perform which function. So at what time what we have to do. For the first bell what we have to do. In the afternoon bell what we have to do. And 3 o'clock last bell what we have to do. They have learned that. So that is known as conditioning. They would be also wrong sometimes. Okay? Yes. There was a scientist known as Ivan Pavlov. He is a Russian scientist who has investigated conditioning. He discovered that dogs produce extra saliva when they were offered food. So he performed an experiment, children, with dog, proving conditioning. So finally, what he discovered? Dogs produce extra saliva when they were offered food. Even you also, when they are seeing delicious food like biryani or your favorite food, definitely your mouth will be filled up with water, right? You crave to eat that. Same thing. This is also done by the dog when it sees the food. But this is a natural response to a stimulus, food which makes dog's mouth water. So the saliva produced is needed to start digesting food and to make swallowing food easier. So this is a natural response. But whereas coming to the conditioning is not a natural response. Isn't it, children? Conditioning is not a natural response. So Pavlov noticed that they also did the same when the person who feed them came into the room, even if the person had not brought any food. Pavlov went on to ring a bell at the start of feeding time, and eventually the dogs produced extra saliva when they heard the bell before any food was brought in. So he arranged the dog like this, children. So you can see the observation screen over there, tube for collection of saliva, container of meat powder. These all things you would be able to see here. So he has arranged. He noticed that a person is who feeds dog daily, if he is coming inside also, even though if he is not carrying any food, still it is producing saliva. And he educated that dog whenever the bell rings. Whenever the bell rings, the dog will get the food. So many times he tried that. After that, he is just ringing the bell, but he is not producing any food to that. But still, the dog is releasing extra saliva, children. So, a dog salivating when it hears a bell is not a natural response. See, before I said you, when it is seeing a delicious food or any food, it is producing extra saliva. That is a natural response. But whenever the bell rings, that means it is habituated. Daily he was ringing the bell and he is arranging food for the dog. So, it has mentally fixed that yes, when the bell is ringing, then I am getting food. So it is ready to have the food, so it is producing saliva. That is not a natural response. They would not do this without being conditioned to do so. So they are according to the condition, it is producing the saliva. So the behavior has been learned behavior, children, and this behavior is nothing but conditioning behavior. So, people and animals can be conditioned to avoid certain things. For example, grazing animals, grazing, they are eating all the grass and all, right? Get an unpleasant electric shock when they touch an electric fence. So, when they are getting an unpleasant shock, so what happens? Eventually, they avoid the fence even when it is turned off. That means they once they come to know that yes, there will be a shock, so they don't go that side. Even we also, many of us, if we don't like a particular thing, that when we experience a bad experience with electric shocks and all, we will never catch up with that switch, right? So that is nothing but condition. We have learned, okay, first time when I touched, so there was an unpleasant shock, so second time I am not ready to touch that switch. So in that way we will prepare our mind. It is nothing but conditioned behavior. So, can you recall some other examples of conditioning, children, and give me in the next class? Yes, I hope everybody can do that. Let's go with the assignment. So, what is the difference between instinct and conditioning behavior? I would like you to write this and write a note on Pavlov theory, dog experiment, children. Apart from that, you also give 5 examples for conditioning. I hope this class was very clear for you, and let's go with the next class with imitation. Thank you.